The sound of $10,000 worth of vintage brute and crystal exploding against Italian marble wasn't nearly as loud as the silence that followed. For a second, the entire Sterling Harbor Yacht Club held its breath. Then came the scream. Not mine. Hers. Blair was standing over me, her face twisted in a mask of perfectly curated outrage, screaming that I had ruined her aesthetic. My wheelchair, my $8,500 custom titanium rig, was on its side, one wheel spinning uselessly in the air. I was on the floor, the cold seep of champagne soaking into my dress, mixing with the warm metallic slide of blood running down my arm. I tried to push myself up, but my arms slipped on the wet stone. I couldn't feel my legs. I never could. But looking up at my sister, at the sheer, unadulterated hatred in her eyes, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't an accident. He had tipped me over. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. To understand why my own sister would shove me into a tower of glass in front of 200 of the East Coast's elite, you have to understand the room we were in 30 minutes prior. The Sterling Harbor Yacht Club isn't just a venue. It's a fortress of exclusion. The walls are paneled in mahogany that costs more than my annual salary, and the windows look out over a gray, churning Atlantic that feels less like a view and more like a threat. The theme of the engagement gala was white and gold. Ethereal. Pristine. Expensive. I was the only flaw in the design. I rolled in wearing the mandated white silk, my chair gleaming matte black beneath me. I'd spent 3 hours polishing the frame, trying to make it look elegant, trying to make it disappear. It didn't work. From the moment I entered, I felt the eyes. Not the usual glances of curiosity or pity I'd grown used to over the last 3 years. These were different. They were sharp. Hostile. A woman in a gold lame gown actually pulled her husband away as I passed, whispering something behind her hand. A waiter steered his tray wide around me, not out of courtesy but like I was contagious. I saw Alexander, Blair's fiancé, standing near the bar. He looked at me, then looked away quickly, his face tight with something that looked like shame. I found a corner near the patio doors, trying to make myself small. That's when I heard it. The whisper. It drifted over from a cluster of Blair's influencer friends, loud enough to be intentional. Can you believe she brought that thing? One of them hissed, gesturing with a flute of champagne. Blair told me she walks around her apartment just fine. It's sick, doing this for attention at her sister's engagement. Munchausen syndrome, another murmured, nodding sagely. Blair is a saint for putting up with it. My hands tightened on the rims of my wheels. The room suddenly felt very cold. Munchausen. Faking. The words bounced around my skull, colliding with the reality of the 3 titanium screws in my T10 vertebrae. I looked across the room at Blair. She was holding court in the center of the ballroom, radiant in gold sequins, laughing, touching arms, whispering secrets. He caught my eye. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She just looked at me with a flat, cold assessment, like a director noticing a prop that was out of place. I should have left. Any rational person would have turned around and wheeled right out the door. But I didn't. I stayed frozen, trapped in the invisible cage my family had built for me long before I lost my legs. You see, in the ecosystem of my family, Blair was the sun and the rest of us were just debris caught in her gravity. Growing up, I was the shock absorber. If Blair was angry, it was because I was too loud. If Blair failed a test, it was because I didn't help her study. If Blair was cruel, it was just passion or stress. My parents, Brian and Susan, didn't just enable her. They curated her reality. They rebranded her toxicity as high standards, and my silence as loyalty. I had been conditioned layer by layer, year by year, to believe that absorbing her damage was my purpose. That keeping the peace was worth any price, even my own dignity. So I sat there in my corner, listening to strangers discuss my fake paralysis, and I said nothing. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat and told myself it was just one night. Just one more night of being the good sister. Just one more night of enduring the unendurable to keep the family photo perfect. I didn't know then that the price of my silence was about to go up. I didn't know that endurance was a game I had already lost. Blair started moving toward me. The crowd parted for her. She wasn't walking, she was stalking. She held a bottle of champagne in one hand like a weapon. Her eyes were locked on my chair. Not on me. On the black metal frame that dared to exist in her white and gold fantasy. Clara, she said, her voice loud, pitched to Carrie. We need to move you. You're ruining the shot. She gestured to the photographer, who looked uncomfortable. Just stand up for the photo, okay? Just for 2 minutes. Stop being so dramatic. The room went quiet. The whispers stopped. Everyone was watching. Waiting for the faker to be exposed. Blair, I said, my voice low, pleading. I can't. You know I can't. I know you're a liar, she screamed, the facade cracking. I know you walk when no one is looking. You just want to ruin this for me because you're jealous. Get up. She grabbed the handle of my chair. Get up. And then she shoved. Hard. Gravity took over. The world tilted sideways. I saw the edge of the marble table. I saw the tower of glasses. And then I saw nothing but a kaleidoscope of shattering light. Pain exploded in my shoulder, my arm, my cheek. I was on the floor. Wet. Bleeding. Exposed. Look what you did. Blair shrieked, standing over me, pointing a manicured finger. Look what you did to my party. My parents rushed over. Finally. Brian and Susan, the architects of this dysfunction. Clara, my mother gasped. But she didn't kneel. She didn't touch me. She looked at the champagne soaking into the white rug. Oh God, the carpet. Brian, get a towel. It's going to stain. Get up, Clara, my father hissed, looking around at the guests, his face purple with embarrassment. Stop making a scene. Get back in the chair. I tried to push myself up again. My hand slipped in the blood. I couldn't get leverage. I was a turtle on its back, helpless, surrounded by giants who only cared about the furniture. She threw herself. Blair yelled to the room, tears streaming down her face. Perfect practice tears. She did it on purpose. She's crazy. And then a shadow fell over me. It wasn't my parents. It wasn't Alexander. A woman in a dark navy gown knelt down on the wet floor, heedless of the glass, heedless of the wine. She placed 2 firm hands on either side of my head. Her grip was iron. Don't move, she commanded. Her voice was low, calm, and terrifyingly authoritative. Do not try to move your head. I looked up. Dr. Monica Vance. The chief of trauma surgery. The woman who had put me back together 3 years ago. I hadn't seen her since my last checkup. I didn't even know she was on the guest list. She looked up at my sister, then at my parents. Her eyes were dark, burning with a cold, clinical fury. You, she said to Blair, her voice cutting through the hysteria like a scalpel. Step back. Now. Blair blinked, stunned. Who do you think you are? She's my sister. She's faking it. Dr. Vance didn't flinch. She didn't blink. She just held my head steady, her thumbs pressing gently against my jawline to stabilize my spine. I am the surgeon who rebuilt her T10 vertebrae, Dr. Vance said, loud enough for the back of the room to hear. I am the one who scraped the bone fragments off her spinal cord. And if you say one more word to her, I will end you. The silence that followed was absolute. You're lying, Blair whispered, but her voice wavered. Call 911, Dr. Vance ordered, looking at Alexander. Tell them we have a spinal trauma patient involved in an assault. Request police. Assault. My father sputtered. Now hold on, Monica. It was an accident. Clara just slipped. I saw her push her, Dr. Vance said. She looked at my father with the kind of disdain usually reserved for bacteria. And I'm going to make sure the police know it too. She looked down at me. Her face softened just a fraction. I've got you, Clara, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere. Just breathe. And for the first time in 3 years, lying in a puddle of champagne and blood, I felt safe. Because someone had finally stood between me and the monsters. My parents immediately went into damage control mode. Monica, my father said, putting on his best boardroom voice, the one he used when he was trying to close a deal he couldn't afford. Let's be reasonable. We're all friends here. It was a slip. Claire is just a little clumsy sometimes. Clumsy. Dr. Vance repeated the word as if it were a foreign object. Brian, I just watched your daughter physically assault a paraplegic woman. That's not clumsy. That's criminal. Criminal, my mother shrieked. How dare you? Blair is the victim here. Look at her dress. Look at her party. I'm looking, Dr. Vance said calmly. And frankly, Susan, I'm unimpressed. Blair, realizing the tide was turning, decided to play her trump card. She threw herself onto the nearest pristine sofa, sobbing loudly. She's lying, she wailed. She's always been jealous of me. She's been faking this whole time just to torture us. Ask anyone. Ask Alexander. All eyes turned to Alexander. He was standing near the shattered tower, looking pale. He looked at Blair, sobbing theatrically. He looked at me, lying in the mess. Alexander, tell them. Blair demanded. Tell them she walks around her apartment. Alexander opened his mouth. Closed it. Then quietly he said, I've never seen her walk, Blair. What? Blair stopped crying instantly. Her face went cold. You're taking her side? I'm taking the side of reality, Alexander said. He looked sick. I saw you push her, Blair. I saw you grab the chair and tip it. You traitor. Blair screamed. Dr. Vance ignored the domestic drama. She pulled out her phone. I'm accessing Claire's medical records right now. Because unlike you people, I actually care about facts. She scrolled for a moment, then turned the screen toward the room. Here, she said, her voice projecting to the back of the silent ballroom. Patient, Clara. Date of surgery, October 14th, 3 years ago. Procedure, T10 and T11 spinal fusion and laminectomy. Surgeon, Dr. Monica Vance. She swiped. Here is the MRI of her spine. See that? She pointed to a ghostly white line severing the spinal cord. That is a complete transection. That means the cord is cut. It means no signal gets through. It means she cannot feel, move, or fake anything below her waist. She swiped again. And here, Dr. Vance said, her voice dropping an octave, becoming dangerous, is the police report from the accident. My parents froze. Brian? Susan? Dr. Vance looked at them. You told everyone Clara was driving recklessly, didn't you? That she was drunk? That she ruined her own life. She was, my mother insisted, though her voice was thinner now. It was her car. She was behind the wheel when they found her. Yes, Dr. Vance said. She was in the driver's seat when the paramedics arrived. But her injuries, the specific shatter pattern of her right humerus and the bruising on her left clavicle, were consistent with a passenger-side impact. She looked at Blair. And your injuries, Blair? The bruised ribs on the left side? The broken right wrist? Those are driver's side injuries. The room was so quiet you could hear the ocean crashing outside. You moved her, Dr. Vance said. It wasn't a question. You dragged your sister's broken body across the console and put her in the driver's seat, while her spine was unstable. No, Blair whispered. Yes, Dr. Vance said. But that's not even the worst part. He stepped closer to my parents. The accident happened at 11:42 p.m. The 911 call wasn't logged until 12:02 a.m. She held up 2 fingers. 20 minutes. You waited 20 minutes to call for help. I stared at her. I hadn't known this. I knew they blamed me. I knew they lied. But I didn't know about the time. Why did you wait 20 minutes, Blair? Dr. Vance asked. Was it to delete the text messages you were sending while driving? Was it to stage the scene? Or was it just to make sure you had your story straight? She turned back to the room. In spinal trauma, we have a concept called the golden hour. But really it's about minutes. When the cord is compressed, swelling starts immediately. Every minute of delay kills thousands of neurons. If you had called instantly, if we had gotten her into surgery 20 minutes earlier, the swelling might not have severed the cord. She might have walked again. He let that sink in. You didn't just break her back, Blair. You stole her legs. You stole her life. And you did it to save your own ass. My mother sat down hard on a white ottoman. My father looked like he was having a stroke. Blair stood alone in the center of the room, her $12,000 dress suddenly looking like a costume. It was an accident, Blair whispered. You tried to finish the job, Dr. Vance countered. Sirens cut through the silence. Alexander, looking bored, slid the engagement ring off Blair's finger and walked away. As police cornered Blair, my parents dropped to their knees in the wine and blood. Claire, please, my mother begged. Tell them it was a mistake. Think of the family reputation. I am thinking of the family, I said, my voice cold. I'm thinking you owe me. You stole my legs, my career, and my dignity. I handed the phone to Mr. Sterling, my lawyer. He put it on speaker. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, we are filing charges for fraud and assault. Blair is looking at 15 years. Unless. The room froze. Unless we make a deal, I said. I want restitution. $850,000. Liquidate the summer house, the portfolio, and the yacht. Sign it over tonight and Blair gets probation. Refuse and she goes to prison. Terrified, my father signed away his legacy. He signed the deed, the title, the stocks, every scrap of their social status. It's done, he whispered. Are you happy? I'm solvent, I replied. Vacate the house in 30 days. 6 months later, I sit in a construction site that smells of sawdust and chlorine. Above the entrance hangs a banner, the Vance Adaptive Aquatic Center. I didn't spend the money, I planted it. Revenge burns everything down, but justice is a seed. I took the resources they used to keep me small and built a sanctuary where broken bodies can feel weightless. Blair took a plea deal and now works as a hostess, trapped in the nightmare of being ordinary. My parents are destitute and invisible. I burned their letter without reading it. I've moved past hate into creation. This is the justice of the sower, building a future so bright that the darkness of the past becomes irrelevant. I look at the empty pool, envisioning the water. My parents' vanity paid for this, but they will never set foot inside. I turn my chair toward the sun. I'm not the girl in the wheelchair anymore. I am the architect,